Today we're talking about what happens during the Criminal Case Disclosure Conference, or CCDC. If you're involved in a criminal case in court and you've chosen to participate in the CCDC process, the court will give you a series of instructions and orders to facilitate the process for the disclosure and sharing of information and evidence between you and the prosecution. First, the court will order that the prosecution prepare and provide a compilation on the information and materials called the case for the prosecution, and they will give this to you, and it contains the following: the charges issued against you, which will be handled at the trial, the summary of facts, and this is a summary of the key parts of the prosecution's case against you, and will detail how the offence took place and the role and involvement of you and other persons in the offence. It will also contain a list of the prosecution's witnesses, a description of the documents and items which will be produced by the prosecution as evidence, any other written statements recorded from you by the investigators during the course of the investigations that the prosecution plans to use as evidence. After you've received the prosecution's case, you should read through and look through it carefully, because it contains the evidence which the prosecution will be relying on at the actual trial to prove your guilt. After reviewing the prosecution's case, you'll have to decide whether you want to still claim trial or alternatively plead guilty. You'll have to inform the court of your decision during the next CCDC. If you plan to plead guilty, the court will transfer your case to a sentencing court for your plea to be taken and for your sentence to be decided. If you maintain your wish to claim trial and contest the charges, the court will then order that you prepare a similar compilation of the information and materials called the case for the defense, and this contains the following documents: your defense to the charges against you, a summary of your defense and the relevant supporting facts you want to rely on, and this is a summary of the key parts of your own defense and explanation denying your involvement in the charge against you, and will detail how your explanations to the allegations made against you, a list of the defense witnesses you intend to call in support of your own defense at the trial, also a description of the documents and items you plan to produce in court as your own evidence. Any objections you can want to raise for the prosecution should also be made at this time. Your case for the defense should be prepared in English, and you must provide a copy of the case for the court and for the prosecution within a stipulated timeline. So how do you actually prepare this thing called the case for the defense? If you need assistance on what it should contain in the case for the defense, you should think about seeking legal advice from a criminal defense lawyer. It is extremely important that you carefully prepare your case for the defense, because if you fail to do so, meaning if your case is incomplete or contains inconsistent or inaccurate facts, the court can draw adverse inferences, meaning an unfavorable inference against you, and this can reduce your credibility at trial and negatively affect your chances of successfully defending yourself. So what happens after you've submitted the case for the defense? After you've submitted the case for the defense, the prosecution will then give you a compilation of information and evidence called the Prosecution's Supplementary Bundle, and this contains copies of the documents found in the case for the prosecution and copies of any other written interview statements recorded from you by the investigators during the investigations. By now, you would have had a chance to review the prosecution's documents as well as any written statements which they plan to rely on at the trial. So do think through the prosecution's case carefully before you decide on your next step, meaning whether to claim trial or to plead guilty. At the next CCDC, the judge will ask you and the prosecution to indicate what you each intend to do and whether the trial is still likely to take place, or if you have reached an alternative way to resolve the case, such as with the charge being withdrawn or amended to a less serious charge that you will plead guilty to. If the prosecution confirms that it still intends to proceed with the charges against you, and you similarly confirm that you still intend to defend the charges by claiming trial, the judge will then schedule a date for the trial. So, there you have it, some very basic information about what will happen if you decide to participate in the criminal case disclosure conference process. Thanks for watching.